Hello everybody, and thank you for joining me. This is Ciara from Ciara T Designs, and today I have a Gnome happy birthday card to share with you. So let's jump right in. So I'm going to start by cutting down the cardstock. I do love a black mat, so I'm going to cut one of those to about an 1/8 of an inch smaller than my A2 base. And then I'm also going to cut down a HammerMill panel, which will also be about 1/4 of an inch smaller than my A2 base, just so I get a nice thin border around both layers. I just kind of like that look. You could do a colored panel as well if you wanted to. I just tend towards black, so that's kind of usually where I go. And then I did pull out a bunch of these dies. This is from a Spellbinders set. You guys know that I'm working with some Spellbinders dies right now, if you've been with my channel for a little bit. So I have the Gnome Drive Holiday, which is the actual set that comes with the car and the gnome in it. And then it has some holiday stuff like Christmas stuff. So there's also a tree. There's a little gift box that you see that I'm going to use in this. I chose to make this a birthday card instead of a Christmas card. You absolutely could make it into a Christmas card. I just chose not to because I'm not doing Christmas at the moment, but I had a lot of fun with this. So I honestly struggled a little bit to figure out how I wanted to color these because there's so many ways, right? You could cut it out of patterned papers, you could cut it out of solid cardstocks, you can ink blend, you can, color with your markers, you could watercolor. Like there's just so many ways you could color these. And sometimes I get overwhelmed a little bit by the options. And when that happens, I pretty much always segue back to my Oxide inks just because they're like my favorite medium to work with. So I did that in this just so I would stop myself from being overwhelmed. So I chose to color my car with Villainous Potion, Distress Oxide ink, because I would love to own a purple car. So I just thought it would be a really fun car. It does feel a little bit Halloween, but luckily we'll change that because it isn't a Halloween card, obviously, but it does feel a little bit Halloween when I first colored the car, but I think it comes together in the end, so it's okay. And then I used several of the pieces. This is the wheels and the steering well, and I did color those black with black soot. Steering wheel, and I just colored this with black soot. And then I decided to do my white pieces. I was going to do them white, just a plain white cardstock. And in the end, I actually decided to do them in a white glitter cardstock, just to add a little bit more interest, because you guys know that I love everything sparkly. So I thought it would be really fun to have all the white pieces on the car be white glitter cardstock instead of just white cardstock. So I did the lights, the grille, and the bumper in white glitter cardstock. And I also cut out the little birthday boxes. Originally, again, I was going to do white, and then I changed my mind and found this really pretty pattern paper that I've had in my stash for quite a while. And I just cut out little pieces to use for my gift boxes. So you'll see these little scraps here. I just pull them in and I cut my little boxes out of them. It also cuts a little star, It also cuts a little star out with the gift box, but I didn't use that in this design. You could add that on top of like the Christmas tree or whatnot, or put it in the sky in the background. I just opted to not use them for this specific card. And I also cut out the little bows to go on top of the boxes out of that same white glitter cardstock, just because I thought that they would be cute. I mean, there are so many ways you could use these and do a really pretty design. So this is just kind of how I interpreted it, but there are so many ways you could have colored this. And we'll use these again. These are great dies. So I'm sure I'll make a Christmas card with them so I can have the big tree hanging out of the back of the car. But for now, I did kind of opt to go a more non-Christmassy color palette, because I just, I love Christmas cards so much. They're probably one of my favorite things to make. But after I do Christmas in July, I really like that little break of Christmas cards so that I can kind of ponder different design ideas. And then we start the 12 weeks of Christmas, which usually starts in October, right? So I kind of like that break from Christmas cards. So then I'm kind of like anti-Christmas cards for a little bit, just so I can kind of work on different things. And I always need birthday cards and thank you cards. So doing something like this is just kind of fun. But yeah, so then I'm just going to assemble the car with the different pieces. So you can see that I adhered those wheels first, and then I'm going to bring in the headlights and then the little grill pieces. There is a piece that cuts out, like if you wanted the whole grill to be glitter cardstock and then maybe do like purple strips on top, you could do that. I just opted not to. I just chose to just do the little grill lines, the little grill marks, but there is a die in the set for that if you wanted to do that. I just kind of thought this was pretty cute. And I wasn't going to do the bumper. That's why you don't see me adhere it here, because I was just going to leave it like this and it would just be, white, black, and white, white glitter, black and purple. But I changed my mind later and did add the grill just because I thought it kind of helped finish off the car. And then for a little bit of shadowing on these packages, I brought in the N1, N3, and N5 Copic markers. I'm also going to do the beard with that. These are the same markers I used in the last gnome card that I made. I just like them. They're kind of my go-to for shadowing and stuff. So I'm just kind of adding a shadow to the right-hand side because I feel like the gnome would be kind of blocking the packages, if that makes sense. And I feel like the sun's coming in from the right. I'm not going to add highlights to these ones. If you want to see that, I did that in my last gnome video and just kind of added some highlighting to things. I chose not to do it here. I thought it would just leave it with a little shadow and not a lot of highlight. But I mean, whatever works, right? Like you do you, as Tim Holtz always says. Whatever makes you happy. This is just kind of how I like to do them, but completely up to you. And for the kind of skin color on the nose, I chose to do E21, which is the same colors I used for the last gnome, just because that's kind of my go-to skin tone color. You only see the nose, so I wasn't really worried about it. I do end up coloring the gnome, like a shirt for the gnome, and hands, because originally I didn't think you'd see them behind the car because I wasn't sure how high I was going to have the gnome sitting in the car, if that kind of makes sense. But then I kind of figured this had to be a convertible, so it would be fine if the gnome was kind of hanging out the top of the car. So I did kind of have to change my ideas a little bit. And you see me rearrange the gifts as well. I wasn't sure if I wanted to put ribbons on each of the packages. This card honestly was just a major discovery because I had no idea what I was going to do. I sat down, I had a die set. I had to work with the die set because, Spellbinders reached out, asked if I wanted to. I said yes. So obviously I'm going to work with it, right? But I really struggled with what direction to go in with it because it has a lot of options, right? So I just kept getting a little bit overwhelmed. So here, this is pattern paper that I used for one of the gift boxes. And I just thought it would be a really cute hat. I don't know. This card is honestly just me playing, really, because I struggled so hard to figure out what I wanted to do. I didn't go into this with any idea. Generally, when I sit down to make a card, I kind of have an idea of where I'm going, so I can kind of plot out what I'm after. That's why I don't do the background until the very last minute, because I had no idea what I wanted to do with it. I really struggled with this card. I think it comes together. I think it's super cute. I couldn't kind of get my mojo going, and I just sat down and, kind of played it by ear because I had no idea what I planned to do. And so here, if I had known that I was going to color the gnome like a shirt on the gnome, I would have done it before I adhered everything. But I originally thought that you wouldn't see that part, so it didn't really matter if it was white because you wouldn't see it. But then I choose to have him hanging out of the car a bit, so I did end up having to color that later. But I think it works out okay. I don't know. You guys will have to let me know. And then for my background, I chose just to blend scattered straw on the background. I just kind of did like this circle of the color. I used a blending brush so I could get, delicate out the outside. So most of the color is focused in the center of the circle. And then I slowly kind of tried to blend out and give it almost like a halo effect. I don't generally do this in my creating. I don't know why. It's kind of a cool effect, but I know, like yellow and purple are complementary colors. So I chose to go with scattered straw because it was just a bit of a darker yellow. So it kind of matched that Villainous potion, which is like a darker, deeper color of the purple. So that's kind of what I was thinking. And I didn't know if this was going to work. I didn't know if I was going to like it, but it worked out. It was just kind of an experimental card for me. And I had a lot of fun with it. I just struggled a little because I didn't know what the heck I was trying to do. But this is where I decided that you were going to see a part of the gnome, and I really wanted him to have a little bit of color. So I just colored the shirt and the little hands. So I chose to use blue, like a blue-green color. So it's a BG01 is my base layer, and then BG45 I'm going to use just to add a little bit of shading underneath the hat and behind the beard. It was just kind of an easier way to make it look a little more dimensional. Not that you really see it, because you don't, but I like to kind of blend a little bit so you have a little bit more interest, but completely up to you. You could do one color and it would be fine. And then I also did the little hands in that E21 because that's what I did the nose in. And I think this kind of makes him a little more interesting to look at too. If I had left that white, it almost looks like he's unfinished. So this is where I decided to add the bumper just because I felt like it really finished off the car. Like, I don't know. It's just, this whole card is an experiment. I was kind of flying by the seat of my pants and hoping that it would come together in the end. And I think that it does. I mean, you guys will have to let me know what you think, because, I am always open to hear opinions and what you guys think of what I've created, but it's always a little interesting as you kind of create. And then Shade had to come and check it out. This is my only gent cat now, because of course you guys know that I lost Ty recently, so he came to make sure that my glue job was appropriate, and then he wandered over to my editing desk and had a nap. So it was nice of him to stop by for a second. You guys don't usually get to see him. But yeah, so he kind of stopped by. Oh, two of my cats are fighting in the background. I hope you guys can hear that. I'm sorry. They're not fighting. They just play loudly. But yeah, so I just adhered the extra little ribbon on the gifts. I thought that was really cute, so I decided to add it to all three. And then I kind of have to build my card at this point because, again, I don't know what I'm doing with those gifts. I know I want to include them, but I wasn't really sure how to layer them up or what I wanted to do. So I kind of do the steps that I know, and then I kind of play with the ones that I'm a little confused by. So at this point, I haven't even added my sentiment. And the sentiment comes from that same Gnome Drive set. It's just the sentiment set. It's clear stamps, and it kind of just matches. And there's a whole bunch of holiday sentiments in there. And this is where I brought it in and just kind of stamped it down. So I don't know if you checked out my last video, but if you did and you put your name in for my Happy Mail, thank you so much. I'm very excited to be able to send to you guys. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, last video on Monday, I rolled out my new Happy Mail list. So there is a Google document in the comments below. It's between my mailing address, my PO box, and my Etsy listing. So you can just click on that if you want to, potentially eventually receive Happy Mail from me. So it was just a nice way to be able to give back to people who support my channel, because it exists because you guys come and hang out with me every week. So I wanted a really easy way to just be able to send something out to somebody if I wanted to, or I'd made something that I thought someone would appreciate, that kind of thing. So if you want to, by all means, check that out, and you can, sign up if you want to. It is private. It's just me. I'm the only person who can see it. But it does ask for your address so I can mail something out to you easily. So yeah, completely up to you. And I did see some people sign up since my last video. So thank you guys. I can't wait to start sending out some fun mail to you guys. It's just kind of a fun way to build, a really good community that knows how much I appreciate them. So this is kind of my way to give back to everybody. But yeah, so then I just adhered the gifts in the back. I don't know, I was winging it again. And then I went back and forth about adding an action wobbler to this card. I seriously considered it because I thought that would be kind of fun. But in the end, I just decided to adhere it flat down onto the background, right kind of in the center of that yellow halo of color. So you could add an action wobbler. I think that would be incredibly cute, but in the end, I chose not to do that, so I just adhered it flat. There's not much dimension to this card other than you have so many layers of cardstock sitting on top of each other. So because of that, you end up with a fair amount of dimension, but I didn't really add any extra dimension. And then for my little bit of extra bling on the card, I did bring in some Spellbinders Opal gems. These are self-adhesive, so they're super easy to just lay down and stick. And if you don't like where it is, you can lift one up too and kind of shift it around. So that is the card I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoy it. I hope that this card kind of gives you some ideas if you've been eyeballing this die set. It is a lot of fun. I will have one more card coming because I also have the Halloween set. So I really wanted to use the cat out of that Halloween set. I think it's super cute. So make sure you wait for that card. But yeah, let me know what you think. I'm always happy to hear your guys' ideas and opinions about what I'm creating. So thank you so much, guys. I will see you again very soon. Leave me a like, leave me a comment, and consider subscribing if you haven't already. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye, guys.